In this video dated December 8, 2013, I just wanted to show a couple of the small changes or updates to the Smotco website. Before I do that, I do want to review one other thing. I've noticed quite a few users who are not processing their invoices, and I just want to make sure that you are all aware of how to do that. Let's go ahead and log into the demo account. And here on the main page, let's go ahead and change the status of this invoice to delivered, and this one to delete. And let me show you one other thing here. Let's go ahead and change the status of this one. But we're going to add our own status of file to history, and we're going to create an alias of delivered. So the system is now going to treat any invoice marked as file to history as if it was marked delivered. So that means if you use file to history as a status on an invoice, it will also be processed when you process the invoices. So you can see that one's now file to history. Now to process invoices, we click Process Invoice Action here on the action bar. And this will take a few seconds to run. And what this does, it files these invoices into history. It also files all the parts sold to history. So let's go over here to Invoice History. And you can see now that those invoices were filed to history. We can see the jobs down here, the additional charges for that invoice here. Under the jobs, we could take a quick look or a quick view to see the date, the issue, the solution, the parts, the labor. Or we could jump over to that job and we can see the parts and labor, which this job really doesn't have any. There's the labor 2.1. Let's go back here a second. Let's pick a job that has some parts and labor. There we go, parts and labor. So we can see the quick view there, or we could jump to the job and we can see the parts and the labor there. From here, we could also create a saved job. We can use the quick view again, although from here you get a little more information. The customer, the vehicle. And let's go and take a look at this part right here. Select that. You'll now see the sales history for that part. There's that invoice we were just looking at. So by processing the invoices to history, you now have access to the sales. One other thing here is if you go into this vehicle, that history information is stored here with the vehicle as well. There's the invoice, there's the jobs, and I think the last thing is to look at under reports. You can look under your performance reports, some financial reports, to your sales total profit, and we'll just pick today. And there you can see the invoices that have been filed to history today or processed today. We can look at the totals for the day, the additional charges, our taxes, parts profit, labor profit. So that's processing the invoices. The next thing we're going to take a look at is exporting your information. I've had a lot of users request the ability to export their information. So we're starting to add those features. Currently, we have exporting your customers. We're going to be adding vehicles, parts, inventory. If there's anything else you'd like to be able to export, send us an email so that we can add that to our list. Let's go ahead and export customers. Here's a list of all of the demo company's customers. We We can just go over here to Actions. We can download to a CSV. And there's all the customers and all that information that you saw. Names, addresses, IDs, customer types. The last activity date, that's the last invoice for them. Maybe you just want customers who've been in, let's say last month. And there they are. And again, you would just export those here. You could also export them to a PDF or TIFF image or a spreadsheet or Microsoft Word. So there, you now have the ability to export all your customers. The next thing I want to show you is over here in Appointments, paid time off. If you're using this, we've moved it from under here over here so that we have a little more space to display these things. It was getting a little cramped here. Also, some minor changes to the form. You now can enter one or multiple days all in the same form just by the start and the end, or return on. So this employee is going to be leaving the 10th, coming back the 13th. So you can see the red here indicates that an employee's out. It's pretty straightforward. In appointments, you can now print out a list of appointments. Let's select this day. There's only one appointment here, but if you want to print out the appointments for that day, print that out. If you want to print out the appointments for a particular week, let's find a week with a few more appointments. There we go. Go down here, PDF. And there's the appointments for that week. The next thing I want to show you is you now have the ability to have payments show up on an invoice. I've had a lot of users request that ability, so we've added that. Let's go here to this invoice. Let's first print one without the payments. There it is. Looks just like any of your regular invoices. Let's go and close that. Let's go into this invoice. Under the customer info are transactions. This is the customer ledger where we enter payments, or we can look at charges to the account. So let's just call this a check. And the invoice number. Now you're only going to be able to apply this to current invoices. If once an invoice has been processed to history, you can no longer apply a payment to that invoice. Let's go ahead and put this as a $100 payment. There it is, the invoice that it's applied to. Let's jump over to the customer very quickly here so that I can show you the other place that you enter payments is within the customer information. So you can create a new transaction. We'll say Visa. Again, we'll apply it to that invoice. Say another $100. Click OK. Now there's one other place that you can enter payments, and that's here under receivables. However, payments entered here after an invoice has been processed, it'll show up here essentially as being unpaid. You can just click on one of those, make a payment. So those are the three ways you can make payments. 2 for active invoices, 1 for processed invoice. So let's go back over here to this invoice. We'll go ahead and print that invoice. And you'll now see down here at the bottom the list of payments for that invoice has been added. And that concludes this video for the updates December 8th, 2013.